Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Waharakah Kadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Now, this is some information from a book called Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders. All right, and it's going into the Middle Ages, and pretty much how you get the bulk of these people today that identify themselves as being j00s. All right, the bulk of them, this is where they come from. You got the two factions really. Well, not two, there's more than that. But you got two main or well-known factions. You got the Ashkenazi j00s and you got the Sephardic j00s. Now, originally, the Sephardic were actually Israelites. These were Israelites who were still holding on to the identity of being j00s, and they followed the religion, so to speak, of Judaism. And they were mainly based in Spain. All right, and then you get the Ashkenazi, which these are the guys that popped up in Eastern Europe. And then they started intermingling amongst each other. And so that's why it's a lot of confusion now, because they started going by mother's lineage and all kind of madness. But that's why you're going to have Jakes mixed in and around these j00s, as you're going to find then anyway, as we read on. So anyway, if you read here, it says, Abdur Rahman's highly personal feelings later became more generalized ones in a culture that always recognized the Middle East as its source. For j00s, these feelings were even more poignant and complex. The East was the region not only of the ancient homeland and of the more recent Babylonian centers of learning, but also in unknown regions beyond of the lost tribes of Israel. So at this time, the Jews knew obviously the history of the lost tribes and how they've gone out there into the world, which we know that they went over to the Americas. And that's how Christopher Columbus knew as well, because he was one of these j00s that was of the Ashkenazi background. And like I said, they intermingled with the Sephardic, so they knew the history, they knew the information. All right, but you had j00s in Europe at the time, real Jews, our people that were in Europe at the time as well. So during the reign of Abdur Rahman III, word reached the court of Cordova, all right, about the existence of a nomadic people on the Central Asian steppes called the Khazars, whose king and upper class had converted to Judaism. Converted, meaning these people weren't Jews. They converted to Judaism and started calling themselves Jews, all right? Some 200 years before. So this would be Kagan Bullen. This would be 740 AD, all right? And again, it was a conversion of convenience. They took upon themselves the religion and the identity of the Jews because they thought it was the most convenient at the time, getting respect from both the Christendom and Islam. All right, they didn't want to be Christians and they didn't want to be Islam, so they chose Judaism for convenience. Just like how today the Zionists conveniently identify themselves as Jews to use the Bible as justification for stealing the land of Israel, even though they don't even believe in the God of the Bible. It's convenience. That's all it is. They call themselves j00s out of convenience. And when it ain't convenient, they become crypto. They start hiding their names and all that sort. They're just snakes and what, you know. Anyway, it says some 200 years before, on the circumstances that remain obscure, the Caliph's first minister Hasdai ibn Shuprat, a Jew, a real Jew, because like I said, and that's why it's difficult when you're reading the history of the Middle Ages. It's difficult to identify when it's talking about real Jews, which is our people, and when it's talking about the fake ones. Because there was a time when both existed, obviously, in Europe. But the history is just going to say Jews. Just like now, they're called the Jews. But when we know for the fact that, nah, something don't smell right, yeah? Literally. Hasdan ibn Shuprut, a Jew, responded to the news by writing an excited letter to the Khazar king, since the first reports on the Jewish Khazars had not mentioned the fact that they were converts. So he wrote a letter thinking, yeah, these are my people. Hasdai thought that they might be descended from the lost tribes. In writing of the complex diplomatic measures he planned to take in order to get his letter conveyed across the world, he planned that he was doing all this in order to know the truth whether the Israelitish exiles anywhere form one independent kingdom and are not subject to any foreign. Right? What does he mean by that? He's wanting to know if there's a place where the Israelites live that basically Judaism is chief. That's what he's really talking about. Because at that time, obviously, there was no so-called Jewish kingdom. The Jews were living under the Christians or under the Muslims. You understand? Which a lot of them Christians were Israelites too, but they weren't identifying that way. If indeed I could learn that this was the case, then despising all my glory, abandoning my high estate, leaving my family, I would go over mountains and hills, through seas and lands, till I could arrive at the place where my lord the Khazar king resides, that I might see not only his glory and his magnificence and that of his servants and ministers, but also the tranquility, the peace of the Israelites. On beholding this, my eyes would brighten, my reins would exalt, my hips would pour forth praises to God, who has not withdrawn his favor from his afflicted ones. Hasdai later learned the truth about the origin of the Jewish Khazars, but they continued to be a source of excitement among Spanish Jews right down to the time of Judah Hai Levi, whose great Arabic prose work Al-Khuzuri was inspired by them. Alright? And see, when you go into other history, what you find out is that many actual Jews, many of our people actually went up. I believe that's in the Arthur Koestler. Many of our people actually went up to dwell with these people and intermingle among them. That's why it is written that our people are scattered among all people. Because even among these fake j00s, you're going to have Israelites. Because even the Sephardic Jews, which were real Israelites, started intermingling with these Ashkenazi dons. But the dominant so-called Jew today is of the Ashkenazi origin. And these people are not the real deal. They're not the real McCoy. All right. Now, this is the history, but ultimately, I believe the most condemnable evidence there is simply the scriptures. All right. Ultimately, we can go into all the history and the scoffers are still going to scoff, right? Because they say, they don't agree with that history. Okay, that's fair enough. You do what you want to do, but this is what we do know. 128%, 144%. This is what we do know. The ultimate way to determine who the Israelites are and who the Israelites ain't is based upon the spiritual record, which is in the scriptures. Because why? Jeremiah 28:45 says this: Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee until thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So currently the Israelites are under the curses. All right? And that's the surefire way to identify who the people of the Lord are, based upon the curses. But that's why Vocab Malone, he don't want to do that. He don't want to put that scrutiny in. Deuteronomy 28. No, that's not talking about this. That's not talking about that. It happened before. It's been fulfilled. Here it is. The Pussio said that Deuteronomy 28:68 has been fulfilled twice already. So so according to you, it happened twice in history already. Why couldn't it have happened a third time during the transatlantic slave trade? Oops. Yeah, you're an idiot. Your own reasoning has failed you. If it could happen twice before in history, it could happen a third time. Because what you're saying is that it can be fulfilled more than once. So why couldn't it be the transatlantic slave trade? Or they don't really want to get into these prophecies. That's why Apostle Tahar said prophecy is what destroys them. Because the prophecies are only going to apply to who they're supposed to apply to. You can't make yourself fulfill prophecy. You can't. Because that would mean that you can force your own will. You can't. Whether it be for good or for evil, prophecy is going to happen the way it's supposed to happen and to who it's supposed to happen to. And these j00s don't fit the curses. They don't. That's a fact. Okay, these men are running the world banking system. The scripture tells you one of the curses is that we gonna borrow and we ain't gonna lend. So how does that work? Oh, but they don't wanna deal with that, right? Right? They don't want to deal. They want to talk about DNA. They don't know nothing about DNA. These men are not experts in the field of science. They don't know nothing. You're supposed to be apologists with the Bible, then use the Bible then, but you can't. And we're going to go into other things with it too, but I just wanted to bring that history and that information out. All right. Shalom.